From Washington Times legal affairs reporter, attorney Alex Hoyer, very good friend of mine, as is Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton. Okay, let me just sort of unpack what Chanley was basically going to talk about, which is this idea, Alex, that, you know, sometimes these things are co-opted. Sometimes the left will sort of just say they're co-opted, and then you're sort of on the defensive. Is that what you're seeing play out in this particular circumstance? And it's tough for listen, the justice, he's got a life, he's got a wife, he's got a home, he may have more than one home. Is this much ado about nothing?
Well, we didn't hear the same people complaining when Justice Ginsburg called Trump a faker and then didn't recuse from any of the cases that involved Trump. So, yes, it seems a little bit one-sided. The timing, I also think, is suspect. We have two January 6 cases, one involving Trump's immunity before the court with opinions expected by the end of June. And then also the obstruction case involving hundreds of January 6 defendants and whether that charge will go forward or not. And it could be a read that the left thinks that they are going to lose these cases.
Right.
And that's why we're seeing this now, this push, this call to get Alito off of those decisions. I also have to note that, so this is like the end of the term, right?
Yeah.
We're just a few weeks away from all the opinions coming out. And this seems to be what we see each term. So right now, this is Alito. Last year, if you recall, it was Justice Thomas and issues over ethics there. The year before that, we had the leak of the Dobbs opinion.
Yep.
So it just seems like, you know, par for the course.
Good stuff. Tom, your thoughts?
Well, the left thinks the American flag is controversial, so it's no surprise that a Revolutionary War flag created by George Washington's folks would be seen as controversial by the left. I don't even understand what they mean, that somehow because he has an old Revolutionary War flag, he has to recuse himself from any cases. I mean, that's just Alice in Wonderland thinking.
Right.
And it's naked intimidation, and it's dangerous because this isn't just about recusing the justices from cases. This is about illegal protests outside their home, and which is a violation of federal law to try to intimidate him. And on top of that, we've had previous protests led to potentially an assassination of Kavanaugh. There was an attempted murder attempt on Kavanaugh and his family. So this attack on the court is not only anti-constitutional, it's potentially dangerous.
I want to share something from FoxNews.com. This is about Hunter Biden's defense team questioning who actually filled out the key gun form. Obviously, this is a major case that we're following here. Hunter Biden's defense attorney, Abby Lowell, seemed to telegraph a key element of his defense strategy in a Delaware federal court Friday about who exactly filled out the key federal gun form in question in the case. It was revealed in court Friday a gun store employee, Gordon Cleveland, helped Biden fill out the physical form that day. Is that dog gonna hunt, Alex?
Well, I think when you're a defense, you need to look at what you can call into question. I think it was also that he held on to the form for 11 days.
Right.
There was some question there. It'll be interesting to see what the judge allows to come in, what isn't allowed. So far, I think it's a Trump appointee overseeing this case, and the decisions have been very fair. What you expect, going so far as saying the drug incident when he was in the Navy and then was discharged, that can't be let in, although we're talking about him using drugs. It's irrelevant in the case. She says, no, that goes too far. It has to be centered around the time of the form. I think that's very fair. That's protecting a defendant's Sixth Amendment right. Whenever I was looking at the coverage of this, I thought how different it is from what we're seeing in New York and the hush money trial.
Absolutely right. Stormy Daniels and all that other foolishness. Tom.
Hunter Biden's going to be able to put on a defense.
Yeah.
And he's going to be treated fairly by a court. It's very unusual in these political cases that we've seen previously because they've involved Trump and people around Trump. Very different standards. Hunter Biden, ironically, is going to get a fair trial up in Delaware. Of course, the real scandal is that it would never have happened unless the corruption that the Justice Department was caught up in terms of trying to cover up this and other Hunter criminality was called out by whistleblowers, pressure from Judicial Watch and Congress. And the court, in this case, the judge up in Delaware, saw this plea deal as being a racket and shut it down.
I'm glad you talked about that real quick. Plea deal in the offing? Possibly? No?
I don't know. Maybe one of the other things, if you recall, that he has the tax case
That's
too,
right.
And that's
Yeah.
been pushed to September. One of the things I'm looking at is it going to go in towards the election? Is it going to be pushed back? Does that have any impact whatsoever
Right.
on what voters think of Biden?
Your thoughts? Plea deal?
No, and if I were Hunter, I'd be asking why did the FBI and Justice Department think so little of this case that they waited as long as they did to pursue it? And he'd have a fair point.
You know what? There's so much happening now legally around not just the presidential candidate from the Republicans, but also the umbrella of the Democratic candidate as well. It's an interesting time, I think, for everybody. Alex and Tom, thank you so much tonight. We appreciate that.